There is a lesson in every ride and a blessing within that lesson. But to learn the benefit and the blessing within that lesson, you gotta live in the moment of your ride. What's good, Faith Family? It is your girl LA and Miss Cavatica, and we are here in the hills of Texas, the Hill Country, better known as God's Country. And I'm out here with our chapter. This is our annual vacation ride to the Hill Country, and this year is very special because it is the annular eclipse. I think that's right. So we're out here to see the eclipse in Kerrville, Texas. But before we get to all that good stuff, I'm on this ride, and you can see how it looks. It's gloomy, it's gray, it's cloudy. And, earlier in the video, I was mentioning about, the lessons and the blessings that you will learn as you ride your bike. And one of the things that I'm learning as a Spyder rider is that, every ride brings new challenges, especially when the weather looks like this. And I actually found myself, living, wanting to live in the moment of this ride and not live in the ride of the moment, if that makes sense to you guys. It's easy to, get on your bike, get out in these moments and get out in this atmosphere, no matter what it looks like, sunny, blue sky, rain, cloudy, whatever environment you are riding in. You have to make up in your mind how you want to ride it. And so this particular vacation ride, riding in the Hill Country this year, I tried to focus on, being present in the ride. It was so important to me to just be in the moment of the ride and not just ride the moment of the ride, if that makes sense. I wanted to take in everything that this ride had to offer. I wanted to be able to, look at things as I was passing by, and if I saw something beautiful that I wanted to stop and see, I wanted to do that. I wanted to live in the moments that this ride was creating for me, because so often we get into our rides and we just zoom by, and before you know it, we're at our destination, the ride is over, and we can't tell what we experience. And so that is one of the things that I've learned with this ride this year, riding the hills of Texas, is to live in the moment of the ride. So we finally made it to Luckenbach, Texas. I don't see Willie and Waylon and the boys, but we finally made it here. Last year when we came, they had this big antique bike show, and so it was packed, and it was difficult to get in here. They had a lot of the entrances blocked, but we made it here today. There's Miss Cavatica, and the weather is Texas, but I'm excited because I finally get to see some history of Texas, and I'm excited about it. Texas has a lot to offer, a lot of history. I think that's like the dance hall or something. Little hat shop over there, and it's just a lot of history, and it just makes you want to live in a small town. But absolutely gorgeous. Got a rooster on the property and everything. And they still have live entertainment here. I would love to see Chris Stapleton here. Whew! Lord have mercy. You're as smooth as Tennessee whiskey. You're as sweet as strawberry wine. You're as
Okay, I'll get it. Thank you.
warm as a glass of brandy. And honey, I stay stoned on your love.
So that's my cue. Gotta go move my bike.
And that's it. That's Lukenbach, Texas. And I was so glad that we finally got to see it. Last year they had a big antique car show there, and so we weren't able to get into the little area to take photos at the old post office and everything. And so this year we were able to do that. And so guys, if you are ever in the hill country, you owe it to yourself to stop by the little small town called Lukenbach, Texas, where their motto is everybody's somebody in Lukenbach. So after leaving Lukenbach, Texas, it was time to get some lunch, and so we headed to Bandera, Texas. Now, if Bandera is the cowboy capital of the world, then OST Restaurant, Old Spanish Trail Restaurant, has to be the oldest cowboy restaurant in the world. It is very popular in Bandera, Texas. A lot of locals eat there, definitely a lot of tourists. You can't come to Bandera, Texas without going to this restaurant and having breakfast and lunch and, yes, dinner. They have the best chicken fried steak there. And not only that, it's been said that John Wayne frequent there. There was a lot of old Hollywood actors when they made Western movies in that area. They would come there to have lunch. So it's definitely a popular tourist attraction if you are ever in Bandera, Texas. And yeah, you got to check it out. It's really cool. So after lunch, it was time to get back on the road. And like I said, I really wanted to focus on living in the moment of this ride, because last year when I rode the Three Twisted Sisters in the Hill Country, it was stressful as heck. And so I conquered it, been there, done that. I even got the t-shirt. So this time the plan was to just chill, relax, and enjoy the moment. But I kept feeling like, it just wasn't gelling. It wasn't ticking and talking with me. Everything was stressful. On top of the fact that my bike was doing some really weird stuff, which we come to realize that, we got to do some tuning on my suspension, but my bike was just throwing me all around. So that had my nerves shaking because, I never felt that before. So things were really off. And the last thing you want to deal with when you're in the hill country riding hills and curves is to have your bike throwing you all over the place. And it really kept me from living in the moment of the ride, taking in everything, focusing in on the beauty that was all around me, even though it was kind of cloudy, but I still wanted to breathe, relax, and enjoy the moment of the ride. And so since we were in the hill country, we decided to take out some time and go and visit some friends of ours who moved from Houston to the hill country. Really good friends of ours that owned a gun range here in Houston, Texas, and their dream was to move to the hill country, and so they did. And so we decided, since we were in the area, we were going to go and visit them. They moved to Comfort, Texas. No, it's Campwood. Campwood, Texas. So we took a nice little long ride over to Campwood, Texas. So how cool was this? We got to stop by our good friends Jackie and Jeff's new business, their new venture, their new chapter, which is called the Hill Country Hides, which they offer taxidermy to hunters in the Campwood area, Leakey, Montel, Rocky Springs, all of that hill country area. But it was really good to hang out with them and see them. And I got to do their wedding cake. Their wedding cake was the very first cake I ever did in my life. Jeff and Jackie are also licensed firearm instructors, and so not only do they do taxidermy in their place of establishment, they also had all these cool firearms, and then they had this blade that my husband was just fascinated with and had to have. But I ain't mad at them, because if they had motorcycle boots and jackets, I would have left with that too. Well, that was our time. It was really wonderful to take some time out of this vacation ride and check in with our good friends since they were in the area out in Campwood and we were in Kerrville, which is not that far, maybe an hour and a half away. But we connected with them, hadn't seen them in probably over a year and a half, but it was wonderful getting to catch up with them as briefly as it was. But it was time to get back on the road because we did not want to be out around these curves and hills in the dark. So we decided to, jump back on our bikes and make our way back to Kerrville, and so we can have dinner with the rest of the chapter that night. But it was really wonderful checking up with our good friends. Sometimes you need to do that. If you're going on a bike ride or vacation ride and you got friends in the area, carve some time out to see them, check in with them, see how they're doing, and put your arms around them. Yeah, you can text and get a visual of their lives on Facebook and through social media, but there's nothing like taking time out to connect with people that have played a very important part in your life. Like I said, when Jackie and Jeff were getting ready to get married, she asked me would I bake her wedding cake, and I was fresh out of culinary school, just decided to kind of introduce myself into the whole wedding cake game, and she took a chance on me, and I told her, hey, I don't know what I'm really doing just yet. Your cake would be my first cake. And she said, I trust you. And so I'm like, oh, but do I trust me? But I did it and I enjoyed it. And like I said, it was a challenge, but it was a joy. Just being able to play a very important part in their life, in their chapter, and then to see where they are now as husband and wife and family. I even got to bake their baby girl's first birthday cake. So, I guess it's just a family tradition, but it was a blessing. And I was so fortunate and blessed, my husband and I, to take time out to ride over to Campwood and to see our good friends, Jeff and Jackie Sanford. But like I said, it was time to get back to Kerrville because it was getting dark and we did not want to be playing around these curves with deer and strange things that probably would have popped out on the road in front of us. So like I said, every ride brings a lesson, and within that lesson there is a blessing. And so if you're going to go on these long vacation rides or any ride, just make sure you are living in the moment of the ride. Live in the moment of your ride and not live in the ride of the moment. Take some time to slow down so you can focus and see things, because I truly believe that there are two moments of a ride. There's the spiritual moment of the ride, and then there's the present moment of the ride. Now, the spiritual moment of the ride, you ticking and talking, you jiving, it feels good, you're flowing, you're yin and yanging, and it is just on point. And then there's the present ride, that present moment. The moment when you ride with you, your feelings, drama, situations, circumstances, and all your issues, all your baggage, the things that weigh your heart and your spirit and your soul down as you ride. You actually ride like you're running from something, like life is chasing you. And that's how I felt this time riding the hills of Texas. I just kind of felt like I was being chased by something. Not to mention, my bike was kind of throwing me around, so that kind of made things, uncomfortable, and just made my spirit and my soul unsettled in the ride. And so, it was good that we kind of, when we had a bio break and we took a moment to just kind of regroup and focus on, refocus on everything. It's like, what? We got some good friends that live out in the area. Let's go take time out to visit them, hang out with them for a while, settle into the moment of the ride and enjoy everything. Because we only live this life once. I'm not ever going to pass this way again. All these beautiful things that we see when we're riding and all the beautiful moments and aha moments that the Lord blesses us with on these beautiful rides, we are only going to experience that moment once. And so I would just encourage you, and I'm encouraging myself, to just live in the moment of your ride and not live in the ride of the moment. Because the ride for me this time, it was bumpy, it was unstable, it just made me feel scared and terrified that I was going to fall off my bike, because I need to work on my suspension. We're going to get all that fine-tuned and taken care of. But you know, once we get that settled, if that was not the issue, I really would have enjoyed this ride even better. I had fun and I had a good time, but I would have enjoyed it a little more better because I would have lived in the moment of the ride and not live in the ride of the moment, because the ride of the moment was bumpy, y'all. And that's life. You know, life is not going to be perfect. Your rides are not going to be perfect. So we have to look for those moments that we can live in that moment of the ride, if that makes sense. But here we are making our way back to Kerrville, Texas to have dinner with our chapter members. And you know, it is always a pleasure to get out on the open road and ride my bike with my husband and with our chapter and just learn new things. Every ride there's a lesson, and this lesson and the blessing in this ride right here, the blessing was, you know, just to remember to take some time out, and if loved ones are in the area where you're going to be riding, go see them. And the lesson was, don't live in the ride of the moment. Live for the moment of your ride.